York.
And welcome back live. Just a gorgeous summer day down under, day 2 of the Australian Open 2006. Approaching sunset, what's been a very eventful day here. The fans eager to get back inside Rod Laver Arena just about a half hour after a different crowd walked out. Watching Leighton Hewitt survive in 5 tough sets. An eventful day, too. There were 9 5-setters on the men's side. And the story tonight in the women's draw, the return of Martina Hingis, 3-time Australian Open champion. She has some great memories on this court behind us. Chris Fowler and Mary Carrillo. Some heartbreak as well, but a lot of history for Martina Hingis in this place behind us, and an appropriate place for her to return to Grand Slam tennis. Yeah, it is. After 4 years at the ripe age of 25 against an opponent that's 4 years older than she is. Now, comebacks, regardless of the sport, not often defined as successful if you define success by a return to glory or great achievement. But she says, if you believe her, she's coming back for the process, the journey, and for moments like this tonight in the roar of the crowd. Absolutely. I mean, she left the game. She was banged up. She had some foot injuries, and she had a couple of surgeries, and she was getting overwhelmed by all the power of the modern game, and she wasn't winning anymore. So she left. But you could tell that Martina Hingis still loved the game because she kept hanging around. She came down here to Australian to do Channel 7 Australian TV. She worked for us last year. She's one of those former players that still loved watching the game, talking about the game, analyzing the game, and she just decided, you know what, I still got some tennis in me. And she decided there was a void in her life. She was doing stuff like laundry and walking the dog and commentating, boring stuff like that, right? So she wanted to get back on the court. She wasn't, banging her clothes against a rock down by the river. As she claims she was doing laundry and walking the dog. That's how she was passing the years of retirement. But now, this is how we remember her more. Well, this was the first ever major she won. She's only 16 years old. Back in '97, didn't even drop a set the first time she won it. She dropped 2 sets in '98. Then she won it again in '99, dropping just 1 set. I mean, this kid played just beautifully here. She had for a while there. She had 27 straight wins at the Australian Open because she got to the final in 2000, losing to Davenport in 2001. She also got to the final, losing to Jennifer Capriati. She was also winning the doubles here as well. She had an absolutely glorious, fabulous career, and it was just too short. And so I'm absolutely delighted. That's Vera Zvonareva ahead of her from Russia, and they've never played before, so this will be an experience for both of them. No matter what happens tonight, I'm delighted that Hingis is back. There is a sense of mystery. What to expect from the 3-time former champion here. Zvonareva seated 30th, coming off a poor 2005 injury is a part of that. She's trying to stage her own little mini comeback in 2006. Hingis can see herself, the champions posters on the wall there. Yeah, 3 in a row. And this is the moment she's waited for. She's played a couple of events, minor events in 2006, but nothing approaching a Grand Slam and a walk out to this Rod Laver Arena. This is a big moment for Martina Hingis. Crowd, of course, just now coming back in here. It's too bad. The place should be full, and it would have been full if not for the lateness of the men's match. When she envisioned this moment, it wasn't with a couple thousand people finding their seats. It was with a full house. Well, it's filling up. It'll fill up quickly because not only is Hingis playing, but then one of their countrymen, Mark Philippoussis, plays Sebastian Grosjean after this. So this joint will be rocking. Look at her. She's looking around already. Interesting to see the reception. She was not beloved worldwide. She was so dominant. She wasn't often the crowd favorite in her career, but I think she was. They loved her down under, Chris, because she was such a canny player, so smart, showed amazing court craft, and these fans knew just what they were looking at when Hingis used to carve up players all over this place for so long. And she played doubles, she played mixed doubles too. They love that down here. The introduction down.
Would you welcome from Switzerland, Martina Hingis.
There's Martina Hingis. Is she nervous, you think? I mean, does she know what to expect from herself? She lost to Justine Enardin, 6-3 and 6-3 in the tune-up event, and really didn't give Anna much trouble. And Anna is not, nearly in possession of the kind of power that some other top players that might run into her face. No, that's true enough. But no, I think she's very aware of what she's facing. I think she understands it. And Zvonareva isn't one of the huge power hitters, so
you know what? I kind of like her chances. I really think this is a winnable match. She's playing somebody, you know, who plays an awful lot of tennis, and she's obviously a seed as well as Zvonareva, but she's fragile mentally and emotionally. We've seen that so many times. I think this could get interesting.
We have seen that so many times, and that's part of the reason perhaps that Hingis wanted this setting for her comeback match. Not out of court 18, but on center court, where she'd enjoyed so much success and with as many eyes possible watching this match. A few days before her comeback, we had a chance to sit down with Martina Hingis, talk about what her goals were, what her reasons were. Is the comeback about the achievement, you know, the destination, or is it about enjoying the journey and the process of just playing?
I just really always love to play tennis. The challenge, the competition, which I really miss, the chills when you go on court and then you have the stadium cheering you on. I think that's the biggest, which I was missing. And I just didn't want to have the regret telling myself, why didn't I try again when I was 25 or one of these years, because I can't give myself this question again when I'm 30. I think that's way too old.
You've talked about feeling the crowd and enjoying the competition. You haven't talked about any specific accomplishments or levels of performance that you're trying to get back to. Do you have in your mind goals like top 10, top 5, win a major, win titles?
Well, that's probably in the back of my head. That's what you're aiming for, and you want to accomplish that, but it takes a lot of patience. I believe I just really have to give myself some time, because I'm not, you know, 16 anymore when I started out there, and everything just went kind of automatic, very easy. You know, winning Grand Slams, you know, making the first steps. It's like starting over again.
You still won't tell me what your goal is.
No,
what's in the back of your mind? I'm trying to get an idea, because people see your name when they remember Grand Slam titles, and they don't know why you would come back if you thought you were going to be going out in the second or third round or being ranked in the hundreds. I mean, you must have something in your mind.
Probably that wouldn't be satisfying to me if you feel like you don't have the chance to win Grand Slams, to make the top 10, and to be able to beat the top players out there. I think that's, well, what I'm probably aiming for, but I just really...
Are you capable of that?
Well, I hope sooner or later, but it's just every comeback is different.
How have the other players on tour treated this comeback that you've spoken to? Have they been supportive? Have they been skeptical? Is it a cold reception? What?
Well, they probably, most of the times, they don't know what to expect, so they're still all friendly.
She was kind of toying with you. You know, that's exactly what she's going to try to do tonight against Zvonareva. Just what she did to you the other day when you were talking to her.
She was bobbing with you.
She was all over the place, man. She left you flat-footed.
Well, I mean, I don't know if she knows fully what she's capable of doing. I mean, there are questions about the game, the serve, the power deficit, but all that's going to be answered in a little bit in the minutes to come. Hingis and Zvonareva, we come back live down under to Melbourne. Day 2 of the Australian Open. An early rise. A steady ride, a painful decline, a loss of will, a sudden goodbye, a changing game, a change of heart, a reassessment, a renewal, a return to tennis, and perhaps to the top. The comeback of Martina Hingis continues at the Australian Open next. Live, Melbourne, Australia. Just 2 gorgeous days to begin this first Grand Slam of 2006. And the delayed night session about to get underway as fans are still filing into Rod Laver Arena after an extended men's session with Leighton Hewitt surviving in 5. Martina Hingis, her comeback Grand Slam match after about 4 years away. Could have drawn a less accomplished player. Instead, draws a seed, Zvonareva, who had been inside the top 20 in her career until last year when some injuries knocked her back down. Seeded 30th there, 21 years old.
Well, she's still pretty young, but you know, she fell out of the top 10 last year. Her best year really was a couple of years ago. 3 years ago, she got to the quarters of the French Open. She beat Venus Williams, some of you will remember, along the way, before losing to another surprise Russian that year in Paris, Petrova. She did not do well here last year, but she's done well enough here in the past. Again, the biggest single difference between these two is that Hingis's greatest weapon is her mind, and that tends to be the biggest liability with Zvonareva.
Biggest liability for Hingis would have to be her serve after she played Justine Enardin. Justine said the biggest challenge adjusting to the slowness of the Hingis serve. She puts some second serves in there in the 70-mile-an-hour range. Now, is that good enough against a player like Zvonareva?
This will probably be the biggest snack item that, you know, players will have for, you know, facing Hingis. They'll want to attack this serve. You know, when she was #1 in the world, it's not like she ever had a huge serve. I mean, but she found all kinds of angles of the court. Very smart server. Every now and then she'd pork one up and give you a serve with pace, but frankly, even when she gives you her best serve now, it's a change of pace in terms of speed compared with some of the serving around her.
And one component of this comeback is how much women's tennis has changed or not changed since she retired. She didn't think it's changed that much. She thinks the same players are near the top, Davenport, the Williams sisters, Mauresmo, as when she left. But I don't know, Mary, don't you think it's become much more of a power game? There's so many more players out there hitting with so much pace that could trouble her?
Well, I think that's the big difference. And she says it too. She says that what she feels is the biggest difference in the years she's been absent is the relentlessness. That so many of the players can hit that hard and that you can't relax during a rally. And what this woman needs, if she's to impose her game on her opponents, is time. Time to, you know, decide, time to choose her options, time to find the great angles. You know, when Monica Seles was gone for 27 months of the tour and came back, her biggest problem was getting time, because everyone hit harder. In the couple of years she was gone, she didn't have the time to find the angles on the court that really underlined her greatness. And the same challenge will face Hingis.
Other tennis comebacks involving greats like Bjorn Borg. He tried to come back, tried to play with a wooden racket, even though men's tennis had changed a lot. It was kind of sad. He didn't win a match in his comeback after retiring about 26 years old.
It's a pity. I mean, the Bjorn thing is so different, though, from this one, because first of all, they should have let Bjorn. They weren't giving him wild card. You know, the ATP really screwed that up. Really screwed that up, because Bjorn left the game. Then he wanted to come back. You don't give that guy a you make him play like the quali. You make him play. It was insane. And when he did come back, you're right. He still had a wooden racket in his hand, and he was playing from so far behind the baseline. Already, all the other guys had moved in tighter.
Hingis' comeback begins. She will serve to start this first-round match against Vera Zvonareva. Just missing.
15. Loud, 32.
Expected to take some time, a few games for Hingis to work her way into this thing?
Well, she's got to start getting, probably. They've both got to be a little nervous. Zvonareva doesn't want to be the one to lose to old lady Hingis.
He's taking the fight to Martina in this first game, has a couple of break points. Where's the liability, that second serve?
Up.
The pace is not the problem. 73 miles an hour. Zvonareva is timing it. Two errors, and we're back to deuce. Well-placed serve there sets up the winner. So her first serve, not a huge liability, you might Mary. It's just when she doesn't get it in.
Yeah, she's going to have to keep up a very healthy first serve percentage. Just move it around, change the angles and the pace, and have a very strong second shot. She knows she'll be hitting it.
Zvonareva showing the wheels.
Hingis looks fit too, doesn't she? She didn't just do this on a whim. She played World Team Tennis last summer, and that whetted her appetite, and she worked hard coming into the Australian.
I dared poo-poo the demands of World Team Tennis Tour, and she told me it's tougher than you think. I don't think it quite compares to trying to play a Grand Slam.
No, but a lot of things happen in a hurry. You have to play a lot of important points. There's a lot of travel involved. You know, there's a lot of. I mean, I actually covered quite a bit of World Team Tennis last summer, and I watched Hingis play a lot of it, and she just absolutely enjoyed every bit of it. She loved sitting on the bench. She loved playing singles, doubles, mixed. She was the MVP of World Team Tennis last summer. I mean, she found a nice little niche for herself.
Long. Yeah, she loved the competition. She loved the reaction of the crowd.
Yeah, she just totally got it. She really got a kick out of it. You know, and John McEnroe was on her team, the New York Sport Times, for a couple of weeks in there, and you know, they had a ball together.
But out here, she's all by herself. Fights off a couple break points, holds for 1-love lead. Her last match on this court, 2002 epic final against Jennifer Capriati. This was played in brutal conditions, huh?
It was a very rough one, because what had happened was that Hingis had beaten Serena in the quarters and Venus in the semis, and that took so much out of her. And this match was so brutal, under such wilting heat, that after the second set, they both had to go into the locker room, and they were both laden with ice bags throughout the 10-minute changeover. Capriati finally came good on this, and that was Capriati's win. I mean, there's her dad watching on it. You know, keep in mind, Jennifer was making a comeback. Jennifer had all kinds of off-court problems.
This was tough on the body and the mind. This one,
yeah, this was a rough one. This was 2001, and you know, Jennifer finally, you know, won her first major about 10 years after all of us thought she would. And then, of course, she won it again in 2002. It was just a remarkable effort from both of them. And Capriati finally taking that one 7-6. I mean, it was just great stuff.
Said this court had been the scene of triumph for her and also heartbreak. That was a very tough loss to take. And her last match down here until tonight. Love 30.
Back then, Venus and Serena were, you know, especially Venus at the time, was dominating women's tennis, and Hingis trying to beat back-to-back sisters was such an effort, and it happened to be a particularly hot Australian summer that year.
That's why I was surprised when Hingis said she didn't feel that much had changed since that year, because the Belgians weren't really on the scene in top form. The Russian invasion hadn't yet begun. So many of the players who've competed for Grand Slam titles in the interim weren't around. So she, you know, contended that not that much has changed.
I think Hingis thought that the Williams sisters were just going to dominate the sport. And I think that's one of the reasons why she left. I think it's one of the reasons why McEnroe left, because Lendl, you know, was such a dominating physical force. And John, you know, it was hard because Becker was coming around too. And
you know,
and then Hingis, you know, but then, and I think when Hingis realized that they weren't fully committed to the game, sure, you know what, I might as well come back.
Showing the movement and the counter punching and waiting out Zvonareva for the error. A couple of break points. Yeah, she admits she sees a window of opportunity here. Davenport perhaps retiring anytime now. Clijsters going to retire, she says, after 2007. Venus and Serena's results declining. She sees a chance to get back in the top 5. Hingis dictating and gets the break for a 2-love lead after fighting off a couple break points in her first service game.
We're starting to see the teeth already.
Yeah. Zvonareva wants to have a conversation with the chair about something.
There is music.
Yeah.
That's Zvonareva's hearing. It's
I think it's
out of
Pat
the
Cash's
plaza.
band outside. Yeah, Pat Cash and the All-Stars are. Let's go to Luke. As a matter of fact, he's on the music story.
Well, you know, imagine you're Vera, okay? You're not mentally tough anyway. You're not a mental giant. And now all of a sudden you're playing this legend. You're out in the stadium court, Labor Arena, and now you got Pat Cash and the All-Stars, and you can hear almost every word. So it's,
yeah, it's not just music. It's Pat Cash's bad music that you're having to listen to.
That's right.
You know what? I don't hear it anymore. I think Vera Zvonareva has effectively had Pat Cash removed from the premises.
There have been people who tried to get Cash to stop playing music and not succeeded. She did it with one brief conversation.
No, I can hear it again. And again, Zvonareva. This is what we talk about when, you know, Zvonareva shouldn't be listening. She shouldn't be hearing anything right now.
The thwack of the strings, what we hear there with a nice passing shot.
By the way, we have
you're not focusing. I mean,
we have a Cash cam that we're going to be going to.
No.
Explain to you what it is that Vera's hearing.
Long.
14-15.
Already 7 errors for Zvonareva, none yet for Hingis. Vera whacking herself in the thigh a second ago. Martina Hingis striking the ball with authority and racing to a 3-love lead in her comeback match at the Australian Open. '06 Australian Open on ESPN2. 3-time champion here, Martina Hingis, making a return to Grand Slam tennis against Russian Vera Zvonareva. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the match.
Something to remember, if you get aggravated on a rebound ace court, this court is made out of crushed rubber tires, so that thing's going to bounce right back up at you.
So watch your face.
Something to keep in mind. This is maybe the worst surface to get aggravated on. You catch it at the wrong angle, and the good news is that this surface is so forgiving it's hard to crack a racket.
Yeah, but it's embarrassing if the butt end of it smacks you in the face.
Yeah, it's not good.
Zvonareva needs to rebound here. Down a break, but just down so far. it on the line. Hingis kind of gave up chasing it. Drops in. Last year in the slams, you can see that Zvonareva hurt at the U.S. Open, did not get to the second week in any of them.
Oh, she really fell away last year. Had a couple of different injuries, the worst being that ankle injury.
If you look at her results, Mary, rarely was she able to win a match after dropping the first set. Happened a couple of times, but not the greatest dig deep, come from behind player in the women's tour.
Well, it's not like she doesn't care. It's certainly not like she tanks. It's sometimes it seems she cares so much that she just can't get her emotions out of the equation. And her meltdowns have been so public.
Terrific penetrating backhand from Hingis.
And then there's this one who there's Bud Collins watching on.
Saw Bud downstairs for the match. He wasn't quite sure what to expect tonight. He was hoping Hingis would win, but not convinced she could show this kind of form early. It's well played from Zvonareva.
14-15.
She's not really out of this set. She's only down a break. You got a point for 2-4, but you just don't get the feeling she's into it yet.
She's going to have to pay more attention, take greater care with her serve, Zvonareva, because Hingis is smart enough to attack it. She's only serving at 40%, Vera. She's already been broken once, as you've said, so Hingis is making her shake, which takes some pressure off her own serving. That's really sweet.
A little lucky there, too, with the net cord. Back to deuce.
Deuce.
You can tell Zvonareva not able to read the direction of that shot at all.
Just, you might challenge that one. It looked like she might have just missed it wide.
Yep.
But again, Hingis is looking to attack those serves.
See what Shot Spot says. Nope. Correct. Best baseline duel of the match so far. It goes to Hingis. That's what she missed right there, huh? In there competing in a big stadium and great counterpunching. That's a familiar style. Finally, a first serve from Zvonareva, who's under 40% for the set. Needed that one.
Zvonareva taking a lot of time. She already looks so, she gets overheated looking very early in all her matches. She always gets flushed up. You know, this is a night match. It's not hot out there, really.
Nope.
She always kind of looks like, you know, there should be smoke coming off the top of her head.
She is struggling for survival in this first set, already down a break and having to work for every point. And now Hingis, a break point to go up 5-1.
Yeah, she needed this game, and obviously she's feeling the pressure from knowing that.
The break for a 5-1 lead, and Zvonareva hammers that ball down into the court. She probably feels like everything is against her now. Hingis benefiting from a little net court in that rally that threw off her timing again.
Oh, she's getting outplayed, though, Chris, and she knows it. She's just getting outclassed in this first set. Things could change. But right now, Martina Hingis fully deserves the lead she's enjoying. And isn't it nice to see, you know, someone who's out there actually thinking? You can see the wheels spinning. There's real cognition out there. Keeping it so clean. 3 times the winners to errors. How often do you see that these days in women's tennis?
Now, you're right. So many of the players adopt that first strike mentality. Sometimes go for the winner when it's not the smart play. Those buzzards circling above. There's Zvonareva.
The big question mark was how Hingis would serve. Well, she's serving at 73%. She hasn't been broken.
Forehand from Zvonareva to get back to 30 all. There has not been able to make her pay for the second serve, which is been in the middle 70 miles per hour, the way Henna hammered away on it in Sydney a week ago.